Hello, everybody. I think we have a couple of people on right now, and maybe we will start. So, the first thing is, as always, to get a sound check from you out there in TV land or YouTube land, as it is, and let me know by saying directly that you can hear it and it sounds okay, and if it doesn't, I will try to fix. Should be able to hear the guitar. Hopefully you can hear my voice. All right. No response as of yet, but we'll just kind of... Awesome. So it looks like Matt's on. I don't know that anybody else is on right now. How you doing, Matt? Good to see you, or to see you on here. So I guess let me just start out by thanking folks. If you're just clicking in, we're going to start the show in just a second when more people come on. We'll do melodic soloing today, do a short lesson on that, and then probably discuss what your dream guitar would be. What would be some things that would be in your dream guitar? Good, not bad. Glad you're doing well, Matt. Glad you're doing well. And that telly that you got is pretty sweet. I like it. All right. So anyway, so let me just then say thank you to folks, and we will get going. Is it really already 5 minutes into the stream? That doesn't seem right to me, but oh well. it will be what it is. Anyway, so let me say thanks to folks. Anybody who gave a donation, really helpful. Always really helpful to get that. And then, yeah. So I appreciate that. And anybody who stopped by, registered at the channel at on Teachable. That's soon going to be moving, but I'll let everybody know who's on there. That won't be an issue. So you'll get continuity there. It's a big pain for me because I have to change all the links in YouTube, and I've got like 850 videos, so that's a lot of work for me. But there we go. All right. Well, that's about it. Hope you like the Christmas music. We're going to be doing a little bit more. I like to say holiday music because I just don't know any other Hanukkah tunes except the ones that my daughter sings. And in that, we celebrate Hanukkah in my house as well as Christmas. So we're a mixed family in that way. So very understanding of that. Well, let me just kind of launch into the... other then, and we'll start doing melodic soloing. So let me do an example first, and yeah, let me do an example first, and then we'll go. Oh, I am just seeing that this is an unlisted video. This isn't good. Let me see if I can change that. How did that happen? That's not good. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a few extra people on, but that wasn't good. So I apologize to the folks who are on. We'll get going in just a second, but it looks like the video is unlisted for some reason, and we don't want that. All sorts of weird stuff on this video that's here. Apparently they changed defaults or something. That I'm not understanding. Okay, let's save that. And let's see the details here. We're not going to make it... Yeah, it's unlisted. It's listed as unlisted. There we go. It's public now. So very odd. All right, I'm apologizing to everybody who's on, and hopefully we'll get a few more people on. It's really a bummer. I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is. We may have to do another one. Hey, David, how are you? If you just joined, I am learning that my video is unlisted, which is why people were unable to find it. Well, hopefully we'll find maybe a few more people are joining in now. Looks like we've got 3 viewers. I'm just going to wait a little while. What can I do to answer some of your questions that you've got, David or Matt? Or it looks like there's one other person who's on. What can I do to answer your questions? I may remove the beginning part of this video. I wonder why YouTube did that. They made it unlisted. Oh well. Hopefully they will send it out to people, and if people can join, they can. That's a bummer, because I was going to do a nice short one and get on with my day, let everybody on. But what questions do you guys have right now? And so we can handle that. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I just do a little improv and do a backing track, and we'll get on with it. And maybe... Okay, it looks like we've got 5 people on now, which is good. It's a little bit better. If you're just joining, the video is accidentally unlisted. I'm going to rage against YouTube as normal and say I can't... if you go to the community page, it's there. Yeah, it is on the community page. I posted it there directly. But... Oh, we're back down to 4. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to get on with it, and we'll start out with doing some melodic soloing. So here we go. Here's the backing track. Okay. Well, we have a few people on. Good to see everybody. Let me take a time now and say hello to everybody. I am so sorry that this was unlisted for some reason, and good to see that some people are coming on, and that's great. So today's topic is going to be, well, thank you, Siddharanya. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Siddharanya. Let me say hi to Bill Martin Smith. Nice to see you. And TBA, great to see you. David Smith, of course. Matt, as usual. Jeff McManus. Hi to everybody. And Bertrand, hello. It's nice talking with you this morning. Really enjoyed that. Mr. Thomas V, hello. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about playing melodic guitar. And what I played was, I think, just kind of an example of melodic. It's not the only melodic guitar. So for some people, when you think of melodic guitar, maybe Joe Satriani or Steve Vai might come up, or maybe Larry Carlton, who's a very melodic guitarist as well, comes up. And for others, it may be, Tejano music or stuff like that, right? Or older style music, which was much more melodic, had a lot of more melodic content than, say, 70s and on, where it was where sort of rock and the blues scale and pentatonics take on. So anyway, I'll just tell you at least some of the. I love this sort of Temptations sort of chord progression. It's kind of in my blood. I guess I played it from a very young age, and I had to play a lot of this on stage. At various weddings and in various bar situations. In the Motown band, I played a lot of stuff that was kind of had this flavor. So I guess that would be the first thing that comes to mind, that whenever I hear any sort of chord progression or that, the first thing that I think of is, what is a song that's like this that I've heard before? And I try and think of the melody to that song. The two songs that came up when I heard this chord progression, let's just listen to the chord progression. It's not gonna get you up in the morning. It's not gonna, you won't use it as a substitute for the theme from Rocky, but it's sort of like a slightly, I don't know if I'd say calypso, but it's very laid back, right? So. Etc. So the songs that come to mind, Under the Boardwalk came to mind first for me. That's the first thing that I thought of when I thought of this. A song I used to do a lot in various bands. And you can kind of hear that, under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah. So those sorts of melodies come to mind. But the one that really came to mind was Blue Bayou by Linda Ronstadt. At some point that clicked, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a song. And you can hear I was trying to play a little bit of that melody in there. And sometimes that's a good place to jump off. You think about, what are songs that this makes you think of? And that's really a good hook for the listener if they're thinking of a song, or if they have a song in mind, or if the chord progression is kind of like a song, it reminds them of something else. You can play something that's going to remind them of something they already know. And that really is a good way to connect with the audience and what you're playing. So, or it's a good thing to try anyway. So that's the first place I start. Before I start thinking scales or anything like that, I think, tempo, and what does this sound like? What does this feel like to me? So to me, when I think of Blue Bayou, I think of that one, let me move this down a little bit. I don't know if that's exactly right, but that line was stolen directly from it, and I was pretty sure that was going to be right, and I was more or less lucky, I think. But those are some things that I think of when I play, and then I think if you do think scales and things like that, I do think that using modes, or in this case, the Ionian mode, the major scale, it's really helpful to have those 1/2 step bends or those hammer-ons and pull-offs that are 1/2 step. So things like this, that kind of thing works really well. And I think in something like this, where it's nice and slow, it also helps to emphasize chords quite a bit. So you can kind of come in and go out of chords like, or even the, that kind of thing. That kind of thing is kind of nice. And a lot of little hammer-ons and pull-offs that kind of are just subtle. And it's just a much more subtle way of playing. I think when you're playing melodically, you do need to think about subtle things that you can do rather than bashing it out. So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts on that. And in a different melodic thing, I might have lots more sustained notes. I might use some even distortion or even heavy distortion, like on maybe Journey's Faithfully or something by Satriani. You can distort it quite a bit and get those long sustaining notes. Or another beautiful melodic solo I like is Steve Lukather's solo on, what's that Toto song? Da 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 da. I can't remember. Gosh, it's terrible. I'll figure it out. Somebody help me out with that Toto song. We can't something or other now. All right. Let me say hi to folks, because I see a few people have joined on, and it's great that you have. I'm really appreciative that you came on, because this was unlisted. If you're just coming on, this was for some reason an unlisted video. And so, yeah. So hello to JCM. Thank you. Hello, Ron Shack. Always good to see you. TBA. What does he play? And Sidaranya said Neil Young, ? I don't know. I guess, Neil Young, like Moonlight by the Bay, on the Bay, might be nice and melodic to do that. Hello, Chris. Good to see you, as always. And all right. So let me see. Oh yeah, and yeah, that's right. So Sidaranya reminds me of Tequila Sunrise. So that's another thing that you could do, is you could play something like that. I'm trying to think of what the solo was, but the end line is something, right? I don't know if that. It's probably in a higher. That's the kind of the end of that, and I don't know what key it's in, so I guess it's in G. So I could probably play that in G. Anyway, but that's some nice melodic soloing and in that song too. So that's a great one. Jim Croce, Operator. Oh, I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs. My brother tells me the story of, he grew up in Detroit. We both grew up in Detroit. He was 13 years older than I am. And he always tells me this story. He always tells me a story about driving down Woodward Avenue, and he and his buddy, when they were just 19 or maybe 18, and at that time the drinking age was 18, and he said, "Hey, do you want to get a drink?" And they pulled into this place, and it was a place where they had a stage this set up, and there was nobody in there. They were the first people that were in there, and up on stage was Jim Croce. It was right before he hit it big with, I can't remember what his first big hit was, maybe Leroy Brown, but yeah. I love that song, Operator, and Time in a Bottle, and all kinds of good stuff. All right. I used to play Operator in my coffee house sets. I used to do a bunch of coffee house sets back in the 90s. That was a lot of fun. Okay, hold the line. No, hold the line is a more rockin' thing, right? What is it? Something. Again, I probably have the key wrong. It's probably key of D. Whatever. So I don't know. Who knows what the key is? But that does have a melodic solo in it. I mean, Lukather was so influenced by Larry Carlton, so a lot of his stuff is going to be pretty melodic. He can also play like really a lot of chromatic stuff. He has some of the absolute classic solos. I heard him live playing with Larry, and the difference between those two. I mean, I'll make no bones about it. I mean, I like Lukather, but I don't think he holds a candle to Larry Carlton. And Larry would play a lot fewer notes. Lukather played a lot of notes. But yeah, we can't hold back now or something like that. I don't know. It's a really beautiful solo that he plays. Here I am criticizing Steve Lukather. Guy's great. Guy's unbelievably great. So I'm not going to criticize him. He's great. Period. Love isn't always on time. No. Yeah, that's it. David Smith. I won't hold you back now. That's it. It's a ballad. It's a total ballad that he does. There's no screaming, fast playing. There's no, that kind of crap stuff. That kind of stuff that he plays. All right. Hey, Robbie Love. Good to see you on as well. All right. So, what are some of your favorite melodic guitar solos, if you think, or a guitar playing? Now, let's just say, what's some of your favorite melodic guitar playing that you would think of as melodic? So, what are some of your favorite players or songs, or maybe players and songs? I'm going to start out. I'm going to tell you one of my absolutely favorite solos that I think is a pretty melodic solo is. Although it's also got good rhythmic content, is Dire Straits' "Tunnel of Love." I love what Mark Knopfler does on that song. I love his rhythm, but that solo at the end is really, really melodic, really heartfelt. That's one of my faves. I think it's pretty melodic too. Rosanna's a good one, yeah. But that's not the one I was thinking of. It's David Smith. You got it already. It's called "I Won't Hold You Back Now." Or unless you're saying Rosanna is a melodic guitar solo, it is kind of melodic. Do 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 do. One thing that's a hallmark of a great melodic solo is you can sing it, right? The first part's real melodic. Then he gets into some technical stuff. Yeah. Closer to the Heart. I don't know that solo. You mean by Rush, Chris? Bertrand, in French, when we call somebody a toto, it means an idiot. Okay. Well, that was the band that they played in. I guess their band was called the Idiots. I don't think so. More Than a Feeling, yeah. Oh yeah, Mike DR, yeah. So Tom Scholz, definitely a great melodic player, no question. I mean, yep. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, A Man I'll Never Know, A Man I'll Never Be. Oh, what a great solo. The key changes in that really cool, but More Than a Feeling's a very melodic solo, nice and simple. I love that about it. It's simple, very direct. Yep, that's great. Hey, One Piece Band. All right. Mega shout out to those here from the Philippines. Nice to hear you, One Piece Band, PH. Great to hear you. PH for Philippines, maybe? That's great. Journey, Who's Crying Now? Oh, yeah. So, another one of my favorite melodic guitar players. All right, I'm going to go out on a bit of a. Maybe I'm in a bit of a mood today. I don't know. I love Neil Sean's playing. He's one of my favorites. And I've already related that story of how I went to a Journey concert fairly recently, and the singer was great, but Journey was just terrible. And one of the reasons they were terrible was Neil. He just played a bunch of trash every song. It was just terrible. I mean, everything was just like a finger exercise. That's not what I remember him playing. I remember him being fairly melodic. But he did have the tendency to kind of mar his solos by showing everybody, look how fast I can play. And to me, it really marred a lot of his solos. So Who's Crying Now doesn't have any of that, and it's beautiful. But like, there's some other really beautiful ones, like Send Her My Love is another good one that's really pretty. Faithfully is good, and a lot of good things that he did for sure. The one that I'm thinking of mostly is Separate Ways, which is this beautiful guitar line, and then he just mars it by just playing a bunch of show-off fast lines at the end. It's just BS. It's just too bad he did that. And I think he had one that was like For the Ages, and he screwed it up. That's just my opinion, okay? You might love that sort of fast play where you can't hear the notes. Okay, Running with the Night. Yeah, Ian Crawford. I think a lot of people say that. I haven't heard that one in a long time. I remember that as being kind of a fast, up-tempo solo. George Harrison something. Yeah, who said that? Mr. Thomas V. Total agreement on that one. One of the most melodically beautiful solos of all time. It's a masterpiece that's not appreciated. Absolutely. It's one of the best there is. Anything from Gilmour. Yeah. Devin Bensky says The Lights solo from Neil. I like that one a lot. I don't think of that as melodic as some of his other ones, but it's a beautiful solo. It's a great solo. It's one of the best there is. I mean, he has all that major pentatonic stuff. Here I'm giving a nod to Mr. Thomas V. about the major pentatonic. Let me see if I can get a sound that makes sense. It's a little too distorted, so let's see if I can do better than that. Put on a little delay. Maybe that's too much delay. Right? See if I can do this. Then he gets a little bluesy, right? He plays non-melodically. Yeah, good stuff. That was too much delay, though. Ugh. That's a little better. All right. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, it's anything by Neil Schon. He's one of my favorite melodic players. Let's see. Shine On You Crazy Diamond. I don't know. Feels more bluesy to me, but okay, I'll agree. That's certainly that one place. Do 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 do. That's some great playing, and it is very very evocative, very emotive, I would say. Melodic, I'm not as sure. Nowhere Man by the Beatles. It's pretty melodic. Yeah, and then a couple of people are saying, hey, Sterling, hi to you. The Genesis melodic solo by Hackett is phenomenal. Which one, I wonder? Firth the Firth? Maybe. That's a beautiful one. He's got a really nice line in Hairless Heart, and The Lamb Lies Down. But Fifth of Firth, the solo in there is really beautiful, isn't it? Okay. Let's see. Nowhere Man. Room 335 and Kid Charlemagne. Yeah. Well, it's hard to. Larry Carlton's just such a melodic player, but his play is always hidden behind somebody else. One thing that I really love his playing on that I find is very melodic is Haitian Divorce. He's got the guitar gooped up with that like talk box, I think. But it's very melodic. Let's see, anything from Steven Wilson. I don't know Steven Wilson. You got to name something. I don't know that song anything. All right. Hey Bulldog solo. As my guitar gently weeps. Yeah, Chris. So yeah, but that is Eric Clapton. I agree. That's a very emotive solo. I don't know if it's as melodic, but it's very emotive. Maybe there's not a difference. I don't know. Yeah, Midnight Blues by Gary Moore. I don't know that one. I don't know that one. Buck Dharma, Dunsies. Oh, hey Dunsey. Good to see you on. Buck Dharma is, yeah, an incredibly melodic player and some all around killer rock and roll chops. Yeah, he definitely has some great chops and a very melodic player. I agree. Buck Dharma, if you listen to Don't Fear the Reaper, that solo is a highly underrated solo. That's a great solo. I do a lesson on that one. I'll tell you, that was one of the harder ones I did. It's just because it's not like technically it's not hard, but rhythmically it's really hard, and I think that's probably a hallmark of melodic solos as well. Is they often do. I've noticed in a lot of good melodic players, what they often do is they often go across the bar, and they'll play lines that go from one bar to the next and kind of carry over, just like a singer would, and that right. So when I think of melodic, I think of somebody who can sound like they're singing, or it just sounds like music. It doesn't feel like they're playing a scale or anything like that. It's a melody. Django Reinhardt, is "I'll See You in My Dreams" is one of the most melodic solos you're ever going to hear. Just a beautiful melodic player, Django was. But that goes way back. That's not rock. So, uh, all right, Peg Steely Dan. The bridge solo by Clapton. Yeah, that's definitely melodic. I like that one a lot. Bridge. I mean, Badge. I think it was Bridge, wasn't it? I made the same mistake Clapton did. I think basically it wasn't. The story is on Badge that Ringo and Harrison and Clapton were together, and Ringo was drunk, and he looked at it and said, "Badge, what's Badge?" And it said Bridge. That's the story I heard. Jerry Garcia solo on Touch of Grey. I don't know about Touch of Grey, but he was a very melodic player. I just don't. It's not coming to mind. His solo in Eyes of the World. Yeah, a solo in so many things. I think he just kind of made those up. He had a great melodic sense. He had a great sense of making up melodies. Sweet Child of Mine. That's a great solo for sure. Is it melodic? Yeah, I would say so. The first half, very melodic. The second half, less melodic. It's more riffs and licks. But the first half, very melodic. Slash can be a very melodic player when he wants to. November Rain's another one. Yeah. Since You've Been Gone by Rainbow. Didn't I do that one recently? No, I did that a long time ago. That's a nice one. I like that. I like that solo. Hey, Angel. Ron Hell. Great to see you. Great to see you. I don't know much Satriani. Frankly, I'm just not into that music. So if it had singing and stuff like that, and the rest of a band, I might be into it. But many people on here have kind of realized I'm not into sort of guitar players for guitar players music very much. I make exceptions for that. But like let's take Larry Carlton, probably my favorite player. His solo stuff where he's just at like Room 335. I like it. It's okay, but I wouldn't listen to it. Um, it's just not something I'm into. So Vi and Satriani never got me interested. Um, Sorry. I like Yes, but that's something different entirely. Um, anyway, how do I know what mode to play? Says Shane. Okay, we're gonna take a Steve Vai for the love of God. See, there you go. Angel came in with that one. I wouldn't have known that one. I have heard for the love of God once or twice. Best friend's girl for the Cars. I'm not sure that's melodic. Um, Maybe it is. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe it's melodic. Elliot was definitely a guy who could play. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say it's except for the end part. I don't know. Is that? I think just what you needed. Just what I needed. Just what I needed. I did that one not too long ago. I think that's one of the more melodic solos. Touch and Go is very melodic as well, especially in the beginning. Since You're Gone, his solo to Since You're Gone is very melodic. Um, I can remember those hooks. I'm not Best Friend's Girl isn't coming to me except that end, which is like the oops, I'm sorry. You know the let me take off some stuff. What is that? Something like that. Something like that. And he does some things. I can't remember too much of what he does on that one actually. But whereas bum 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 ba da 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 da. That's very melodic, right? So you can remember all that whole thing, and it's not so chopped up. So, yeah. Anyway, that's probably it for me. That's how I think of it. SRV Lenny. I don't know. It's definitely lyrical. It definitely has a great flow to it. There's a lot of feeling in it. But does it have a hooky memory? Can you sing it? I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. If you can sing it, then it can be melodic. Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son. Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son feels kind of chunky to me. Bump a little dude. It's very riff based, isn't it? Bum 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 bum. I don't know. Maybe it's melodic. I can sing it partly anyway. Come on, Feel the Noise. That I don't know. Ooh. So David Smith says, and Leslie West, Kevin Cruz mentions. Absolutely, Leslie West was a very melodic player. In Once Upon a Time in the West? No, not Once Upon a Time in the West. Help me out, Kevin. What's that song called? But, yeah, boy, I can't remember what that's called, but ba ba da 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 da. You can remember that solo. Yeah. Bye bye my love. Bye my love. Do 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 do. I don't know. It doesn't feel very melodic to me, that one. Maybe I'm wrong. Where he's doing the stuff in fours. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Since You Are Gone has a Fripp type of riff. Okay. Hotel California was mentioned. Yeah. So definitely do 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 ba da 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 da. And yeah, that's pretty melodic, I'd say. Theme from an Imaginary Western. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Gib, for getting both there. Go Your Own Way. Oh yeah, we didn't mention Fleetwood Mac. So definitely Lindsey Buckingham had a way of doing very simple, good melodic hook solos. Yep, that's one. Secondhand News has a nice one. There's a lot of nice melodic solos that he has. Lay It on the Line is that Triumph. Yeah, that's a decently melodic solo. Ba 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 da da da. Not so much the beginning, but ba 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 da 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 do 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 do. It has that minor harmonic minor note in there. Yeah, definitely. The Chain. Jimmy Smith and Wes Montgomery. Well, we can't go to Wes Montgomery. Come on. I guess I went to Django, but I was just really kidding. Mississippi Queen. Yeah, Layla. Yes, that end is very melodic. I agree. That end is very melodic. Okay, well, I'm going to play something. Not the song something, but I'm going to play something from. Let's see if I can pull this off. I'm going to see if I can pull this off. I'll play something from a melodic guitar player who was not mentioned yet. Nobody has mentioned this guy, and I think he's very, very melodic. He's a very melodic player. Now, I think that there's a distinction between melodic and bluesy. A lot of people have a great touch on the instrument, and you think, wow, that's great, but when you're trying to remember their lines, it's tough to do that. Like, I wouldn't call Hendrix a very melodic player. He didn't come up with hooky type of things, you know. But let me see if I can. Yeah, this needs a lot of goop on it. This needs a lot of goop. I think it's in tune. Let me see if I can play this one, and if you recognize this solo. I'll try and do it justice. And who the player was. Let me see if I can do it here. All right, let me recalibrate here. Okay, got it. I think I can get it now. All right, any guesses on who that was? Here's a hint. The guy from Queen. Yes, Brian May. That's right, Brian May. Super melodic player, right? That's a solo from Hammer to Fall. Is that again very? It feels very stately. I can remember that melody very easy. Da 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 ba da da la da da ba da 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 ba da 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 da. And then that end. It's very stately. It feels very almost like classical music to me. Yeah. Melissa. I don't know. What's the key line in Melissa? I'm having a trouble singing it. Except for wah wah. You know, where it's fading in, right? So. You know, that I don't even know the key it's in, so I'm just playing a couple notes. Yeah, Jeff McManus says, Brian May, of course. I can spell his name. There you go. Nicknamed the Poodle. Who was the Poodle? Brian May? Sounds like a Scorpions lead. Yeah. Well, you know, even though, you know, Michael Schenker was the king of, like, riffs and a king of triplet riffs. That dude could do triplets in really cool ways. Like, he was really inventive with triplets, I think. He was a very melodic player. If you listen to the old UFO stuff, he plays a lot of really melodic things. I mean, listen to it's not so much a leady song, but listen to Doctor Doctor. You know, that beginning part with a harmonized line. It's good stuff. Okay, somebody had asked about modes. So, you know, I don't want to do too much of a lesson on modes today, but let's just take something very simple. So if we take the chord progression that I was playing in the very beginning, and I'm going to play that just a little bit, just so we can hear it. It's a little out. It's a little out. So let me tune this, or try to. There we go. Rick Beato, eat your heart out. Okay, let's see. If I listen to this, Okay. Oh, that's right. So Devin, yeah, it's Melissa is in E major. Yeah, so yeah, Becky, Dickie Betts is going to play a lot of that kind of stuff. I can't remember the key line though, and that's what's bugging me. Anyway, back to where we're going. So the thing that I started out playing, and we were talking about melodic guitar. Let's take that progression. So when you think about modes, you should think about. I think a lot of people think of. I don't know where you're coming from and exactly where to start, but I'm going to go a little bit further. If you know your major scales, that's the key to the underpinning, I think, of understanding modes. If you don't know major scales, you should take some time and learn the major scale and learn the harmonized major scale and what chords fit into a key and things like that. Okay, so if we analyze these chords, very simple, we've got a progression that is G to D. And maybe somebody throws in a D7 there. And we're back to G. Okay, now some slight change, just a tiny, tiny, tiny change here. It goes G, G7, C, and then the end is just G to D, back to G. So, those who are astute to these things know that all of those chords, except for one, are in the key of G major. So, if we take the key of G major, the one chord would be a G, which is a major. If we're thinking about, let's think about seventh chords. Well, let's think about triads, right? Let's think about triads just purely first. So the one chord would be a G major. The four chord would be a C major. And the five chord would be a D major. Okay, so we're covered. What about seventh chords? Well, without getting into major sevenths and minor sevenths and minor seven flat five chords, let's just think about them in terms of dominance for a second. The five chord is a dominant in a major scale. So this D7, when it goes from D to D7, all of that just fits into G major. So the key of G major works really, really well. Perfect, right? The only exception is when it goes to that G7. So if you want to think of mode, if you're a strictly modal player, over the G, you play G Ionian. Over the D, you play D Mixolydian, which is the same as the key of G. It's the same as G major, same notes. Over C, I guess you would play, what, C Lydian? Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to play C Lydian, and which is the same as the key of G. And that's it. The only exception is weird is over that G7, you would play G Mixolydian. Now, here's how I think about it. I think about it is there's chord progressions there that I'm going to emphasize when I play, and I'm thinking about those chord changes. So you heard me play a lot of things like this. Those are simply chord tones. And then when I go to the D, I go. I'm not thinking modes or anything like that at all. I am thinking key of G major, so if I come and I know the G major scale right here, for example, is. So I can do that, and that's fine, but I really have to find those chord tones. So if I want to hit a G, I know I want to end up right here. And if I want to do double stops, I know I want to do this. If in thirds, I do. And there's another G right there. I have to see this chord, that triad. So that's how I'm doing the improv. And when it goes to that G7, I'm just thinking that as a special chord, What's special about it? The flatted seventh, of course, and that's an F. So over that G7, I can play an F, and it's going to sound good. It's going to make me think that it's going to make people think that I know what I'm doing in the song. That's it. But if I want to ignore it, I can simply ignore it and play a different note. The only thing I can't play over that G7 is that F sharp. That's going to sound bad. So anyway, there you go. So if you're a moto player, just think it's all in G Ionian, and I'm good. To me, I think a lot of moto play is overthought. Is overthought. It's all G Ionian, and then I got to pay attention to where the chords are. That's how I think. Okay. Now, am I against moto play? No, I'm not. I think it can be great, but I think there's a tendency for people to overcomplicate with modes. All right. So the other thing that's interesting about this chord progression is that it's also typical to put a different flavor in there. So the beginning is kind of cool. That's normal. So far, so much the same. It's exactly the same. But then it gets a little bit different. The second bar of that C, often there's movement that's put into there. And often the movement that's put in is of two flavors. One is to go from the major to the minor. That's very common. You hear that a lot in show tunes and swing tunes and tunes of the great composers like Ellington and Rodgers and Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein, and you hear that a lot in the Beatles doing that. And the other thing that people do is they'll go to a C sharp diminished, just to put some movement in there. So they'll go C. You hear that a lot in the blues. And then we're back to the one chord. And really what's going on there is a bass line. And we're just harmonizing that bass line. That's what we're trying to do. This note right here is the fifth of G. Or you can think of it as a root of D if you're going to D as well. Anyway, so all that stuff is really cool because when you hear players like Robin Ford or Josh Smith today or Larry Carlton, when they're using those tense notes, that's partly what they're looking for, those places in the changes where you can do things like that and it'll take extra tension. So you can play, a diminished line. That kind of thing right there, and it'll take some extra tension. Or you can go from major to a minor. Anyway, some nice movement there. Okay, we're still going. His Overlord Upon High says Ted Nugent is very melodic. Wow, really? I think of Ted Nugent as playing licks and very rhythmic. I don't think of him as melodic really at all. All right. Jeff Beck was a very melodic player for sure. What's a Stevie Wonder tune? Because We've Ended as Lovers. Oh, unbelievable, and so many melodic songs. Freeway Jam. If somebody mentioned that, for sure. Cat Scratch Fever. Ba-da-ba. Yeah, had some interesting things. Hibernation is very melodic. Has some melodic things in it. Yeah, I like Ted Nugent as a player. I don't think of him as a melodic player. Elvin Bishop. Oh, Jim McClatchy. Hi. Elvin Bishop. Yeah, he's a good player. I like his play. All right. Yes, and his Overlord Upon High, George Harrison. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Okay, cool. See, Highway Star I don't think of as very melodic. Maybe it's just me, but I guess the end. A lot of deedly-deeing. If I have to deedly-dee too much, the melodicity goes out of it for me. Anyway, all cool stuff. All right. Well, I wanted to. I think we're about an hour in. It's good to see so many people on. And again, Ron Garofalo, just wanted to say hi to you right now. Um, yeah, Steve Lukather. Steve Lukather has been mentioned many times on this. Uh, all right, and Ron says Freebird. All right. You know, another player who I think is very melodic who wasn't mentioned is Peter Frampton. A lot of his solos, if you listen to Frampton Comes Alive, you can sing those solos. Very easy to sing those solos. Very easy to sing those solos. All right. So I wanted to change the subject just a little bit. And I wanted to ask you, although I'm glad you're enjoying what are the melodic guitar solos? Um, because I'm learning some things about what people think is melodic or are melodic solos as well. So I think somebody changed my mind on much of Elliot Easton, although not everything. Some of his stuff seems very lick based as well, but on Elliot Easton for sure, I think my mind was changed on that one. Okay. Let's see. 5-man acoustic jam. Oh, hey, Mark Siebes. Play Smoke on the Water. No thanks. Um, all right. Well, this guitar I can see is not the best guitar for me today. It just matches my shirt a little bit too much. But what I want to change the subject to and just have a little fun here, and then I think we'll call it a day, is I wanted to ask you not what would be your dream guitar to have, but what are some things that you really look for on a guitar when you get a guitar? It looks like the exposure is kind of crazy here. I'm going to close the window here. Let me see if I can adjust the exposure a little bit on this camera. See if I can do that. Let's try this. There, that's a little better, huh? Okay. There, that's a little bit better. Camera exposure. Um, yeah, I can see this now. Okay. Um, so what would be some things that you would want to have in your dream guitar? So now what I'm not talking about is, well, I want to have a 59 Les Paul or I want to have a 56 Strat. Of course we all would because that would be great retirement money. But no, what are some things? And so to start us off, what I thought, what are some things that I like in a guitar if I buy a modern guitar? Now, if I got buy something because I like the vintage vibe of it, that's different. I expect there's going to be some issues, not issues with the guitar like the finish is cracked, but just some things that were not as designed as well. But like one thing I really like on a guitar now when I buy it is access. I love these cut. I love these. I don't even know what they're called, but the cutaways in the upper bout, and sometimes in the lower bout, and sometimes, although not on this guitar, you find the cutaways in the back. On this guitar. Let me get this one out. On this guitar, it has it both. Let's see if we can see it. It has it both in the back and the front. So that's pretty good. Yeah. So let's see. What are some other things that people are looking for? Versatility, sustain. Let's see. Wow. Backward All Begins by Bab. Okay. Let's see. So David says sustain. That's interesting. So what is it that you mean you pick up the guitar and play it, or is there something particular that you look for that gives you sustain? Versatility, says David Smith. Harry Hinch says 24 frets. I am not somebody who's into 24 frets so much, but I will say that there are some nice things. I have two guitars that have 24 frets. Actually, I only have one now. I've had four guitars with 24 frets. I've sold three of them, not because of that, but in spite of that. I've sold them, but There you go. Yeah, 24 frets. It's nice to have sometimes. Low action and good tunes. Well, low action is, I think, a function of your setup. So you can have that set up for fairly low. If you can't, there's some problems with the frets probably. What's inspired this was actually a video that I saw about somebody who had their guitar plecked. And that means that they could get it set up in a different way, and you know that the frets are going to be really level. And so that would certainly give you low action if you, or potentially give you low action if you had it plecked and set up low. Matthias Onu says, what do I think about the Positive Grid Spark 40? I don't know. I don't have one. I've never played on one. Let's see. Can you go over using arpeggio versus pentatonic versus modes? Scales, how to use them together without sounding like an exercise? Sure. But let's talk a little bit about this first. So Harry Hinch says tuning stability. Yeah, I agree. So on this, for example, this is the, for those of you who don't know, this is the Harley Benton Fusion HT. So it's a Telecaster. And whoever said versatility, this is a very versatile guitar. You can see it's a true Fusion. It's got a tremolo. And this is a nice tremolo. It's a Wilkinson tremolo. This works great. And it's got coil splits. So the splits are okay. In my opinion, PRS does great coil splits. This one's okay. It does a decent Telecaster out of the neck pickup. It does a decent... The bridge pickup's useless with its split. But it's fine. And where I was going with that was it has no brand, but they're actually very good locking tuners. So this is very stable tuning. Yep. And it has a Tusk nut, which is also helpful for the stability of the tuning, I think. So that's one. It's good. Whereas this one, PRS designs guitars so that they have the three on a side headstock, but these are straight through, so you don't have the Gibson issue of extra friction at the nut because of the splayed, because the angle that it's going into the string there's a big angle. So yeah, that makes a difference. Neck profile. Oh yeah, so Jeff McManus says neck profile. Yeah, to me that's a huge. Now he likes thin necks. I like thin necks if they're wide, but I don't like thin, skinny necks. So some of the people who are like big Fender fans, that's one of the reasons why I'm not a Fender fan. I don't like the necks on Fenders. They're not for me. I like wide necks. I also, if they're going to be thinner necks, I like a fat neck. Like a Gibson Les Paul is fine, or a Gibson 335 is fine for me. But anyway, the neck profile, definitely a huge thing. David Smith says comfortable. Yeah, so agree. Matthias is trying to get everything in all at once. Playability, tuning stability. What makes a guitar playable? That's a question I have back for you. Tuning stability, I think we just talked about. But again, what makes it stable tuning? If it has a tremolo, this doesn't have a tremolo. But if it has a tremolo, that's a whole different ballgame, right? Because then you've got to get into, or a Bigsby, then you've got to get into, do I want a roller bridge, which might be a feature you look for, or graphite nut, or whatever. Sustain is like money in the bank for guitar. Sounds good unplugged. Yeah, so so if it resonates when you're playing it unplugged, I think that's good as well. I actually buy into that theory that if a guitar sounds reasonably loud, of course, what's going on? You gotta play something decent. It's already got out of tune. I must have knocked it or something. That the pickups have to work less hard. I don't know if that holds up in physics anyway. I haven't studied. I studied physics a long time ago, so I haven't been trying to keep up. Can I play Smoke on the Water? I can, but I'm not going to. Thank you. Not gonna play it today. Let's see. Custom built hollow body jazz guitar is that might be your dream guitar, but what features are on that? I mean, is it the hollow body that you're looking for? And why is it a hollow body? What does that do for you? Can a solid body do the same? Can it not? Does it have to be a thick body, or can it be a thin body like a Epiphone? What's the custom coupe or whatever? Casino. Can it be an Epiphone Casino, which is thin but hollow? Let's see. The question that kills: good guitar, average amp, or average guitar, good amp? I have an opinion on that, but I want to come back to it. Guitars are changing because of old wood restrictions. That's true. I think, in a lot of cases, somebody mentioned looks. So I think looks make a big difference. I happen to think, for example, this guitar, if I wore a different shirt, it would look better. But I happen to think I like the looks on this guitar. I like the brass on the saddles. Does it do anything for the sound or the sustain? People will say it does. I'm not convinced. But I like how it looks, and that's enough for me. And I also like the color of these knobs. Go figure, right? You may differ on what you think is nice looking guitar. I actually think this is a nice looking guitar with a lot of features that I really like. One thing that people haven't mentioned is stainless steel frets. I love stainless steel frets. I've had many of my guitars refretted with stainless steel, and it is great. It's great. Yep. David Smith did mention it. I'm just catching up. Sorry. Joe says, my Squire has such a tiny neck, I guess because they're marketed for learning, so they want anyone to be comfortable, but I have long fingers. Yeah, Squires have thin necks. They are thin neck guitars. Even the Classic Vibe Telecaster, I don't know about the Classic Vibe Strats, but the Classic Vibe Telecaster 50s model, that has a tiny, tiny neck. And of course, the 50s did not have those necks. They had chunky necks, baseball bats. So, it's just different. I think, Fender's going to give people that, most people I think prefer to play a thinner neck. But those are also skinny. They're also not wide. So, to me, it's the combination of those two things that make those necks, I won't say unplayable. They're playable. I actually think it's good to play a number of different types of necks. Not be too comfortable. You should be able to pick up any guitar and be within reason and play. Okay, straight string pull can help stability. By the way, what are we discussing? We're discussing what are some dream options on the guitar. Yeah, I agree, Robbie. The PRS wraparound bridge is really, really good. I have a Gibson as well, and it's nowhere near as good. The bridge is nowhere near as good on the Gibson. It's a Melody Maker, which I love. I love that Melody Maker. Oh, no. Did anybody mention the weight? I mean, Mark Siebes said a hollow body guitar. That's one thing a hollow body guitar can give you, a very light weight. And it gives a kind of a woody sound. There's a sound that's different. I don't care what it is. Even a 335, which is only semi-hollow, has that. But there's a different sound. There's a bit of a different sound, I think, anyway. But the lightness. This is a 7.5-pound guitar. It's okay. Maybe it's a little bit above 7.5. It's okay. I can deal with it. But this one, this is a 6.3. 6.3 pounds. This is super, super light. And it's very well balanced. So it doesn't neck dive or anything like that when it's on the strap. So it's beautiful how they've done that. I don't know if they have extra light tuners or what, but it's great that way. Really like that. Yep. Neck dive is annoying, so it has to be balanced. I did a video on Glary guitars, on a Glary guitar that Glary sent me. And to their credit, they sent me one that was clearly just off the production line. I'm telling you this because the input-output jack was like halfway hanging out, and it was the intonation. They hadn't even bothered. I don't know how they did it, but it was like so out of whack. I could get it in tune, and I swear, by the third fret, it was already wildly out. It was crazy. So, I had to do that. And the neck was the finishing on the frets, they just didn't even bother. And the neck was just like rough sanded. It was just crazy. But it played, and it was $85, and it sounded okay once I intonated it. But, there, where I was going with that was with Joe, was that guitar's body was like 5 pounds, and the neck was super heavy, and the tuners were super heavy, so you couldn't. The neck dive on that was just nuts. So anybody buying that to mod it would have to either buy super, super, super duper light tuners, or they'd have to buy a different neck if they wanted to keep the body. So it looked good, but it was really light. It was like 5.2 pounds, and the neck dive on it was really terrible. So that's one thing I would say about that. Now, full disclosure, Glary contacted me recently, and they're sending me another guitar for me to review. So I'm going to review another Glary guitar. It's their semi-hollow with telly pickups, not the humbucking pickup. So, and a maple fretboard, maple neck and fretboard. So I'm interested to see if they're stepping up their game a bit. It'd be interesting to see. They're charging more for it. It's $120 instead of $85. I mean, it's still not very much, but $120. There we go. Any Thin Lizzy licks. All right. Yeah, I agree. A guitar that I can pick up and play is, to me, the most important feature on a guitar. The features are all related to playability, not to sound. Because I think if I really want a guitar that I'm going to gig with and I'm going to play out, then either the pickups are okay. Like, honestly, on his Harley Benton, I think the Roswell pickups are pretty darn good. I can get some pretty sweet sounds on it. Humbucker, when I split them, they're not so great, but they're good, and I don't see any need to replace them, at least not now. But even on my highest end guitars, if I really wanted them to sound right, I'd put in my favorite pickups, and they'd sound better. And guitar makers, for the most part, just don't do that. They don't put in true Seymour Duncans, for example, or true Lindy Fralins. Why not have on your high end, if you're making a guitar, put in Lawlers or put in Lindy Fralins or whatever is this. You got to make your own if you're a guitar maker, I guess. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Anyway, okay. Regarding weight, any thoughts regarding Les Paul body chamber versus solid body? Yes. So I will answer that one, and then we're going to go back to a couple of questions that were asked before. So I love Les Pauls. So as most people who follow this channel know, I am a Les Paul player. I am a Gibson player. I'm not a Strat player. So I think a lot of that has to do with probably the scale of the guitar, right? I'm more even though this is a 25.5 and I love this guitar, I'm more comfortable on a 24.75. I have found out now that I started using PRS, the 25-inch scale is my favorite scale of both. I find that that's a perfect scale for my hands and for my play. But Gibson, I'm a fan. And my favorite guitar of all time is a 335. That is probably because I love Larry Carlton. So 335s, I'm never going to talk smack about them. Les Pauls, I love Les Pauls too. And I think it's just that design, probably why I like the Telly more than I like the Strat. I'm just not a Strat player, but I like Tellys for some reason. I don't always love playing them, but I love the body. And so I'm going back to Gibson. So the only thing is, when I was younger, the weight didn't bother me. But as I get older, the weight came on me, but I am less tolerant in my guitar. So I put on weight myself, but I'm less tolerant to have it in the guitar. And I'm not going to claim back problems, although I have them. I don't think it's the back problems. I think I just don't like it. I don't like it hanging on my neck for a long time. So I much prefer a chambered body. It also you can feel it more when you play because there's a there are resonant cavities there. So I actually personally I prefer that the body cavities are that they have some weight compensation in there, and that they are. I like the what is that called? I can't remember at the moment. Boy, I'm having all sorts of these today. Something's chambered. It's chambered. I prefer chambered. But if you have a really nice light piece of wood, fine. Go ahead and use that. Now, PRS, I have a buddy who does legal work for PRS. And Paul Reed Smith, big believer in a big chunk of wood. That's a big part of the sound. There you go. And a heavy chunk of wood, too. It's a bummer for me because it keeps me from buying PRSs that are heavy. Of course, I don't need to buy any more guitars. I have plenty. Output jack. Yeah. I love 335s, but I hate the output jack on the top. Who designed that? Why? It's probably easiest just because it's harder to make. You got to put it on the top at the end, so it's probably easiest to do it that way. All right. So, yeah, this is a Harley Benton Telecaster. Yep. Harley Benton Telecaster. Costs, that's why. 335 tone and feel. Yeah, I love 335s. Just love 335s. On acoustics, it's pretty interesting because I'm not a Taylor guy. Somebody mentioned I love Taylors. I'm not a Taylor guy. I'm a Martin guy. And it's probably just because of that warmish sound, but it's partly because of the neck too. And you know what? Martin necks are skinnier than Taylor's, which are wide and thin. So why? I don't know. I'm fickle. I'm fickle with my guitars. Max Josephson says I'm a Strat guy. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people love Strats. Yep. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of people on today. So, I'll tell you what. Gibson's a rip-off company. I have a Greco LP that comes in a fraction of the cost. Yeah, well, Greco I'm not sure was available back in 1970. So, I don't know about those. Anyway, all the name brand companies. When I was growing up, you bought a Fender if you didn't have cash because Fender were cheaply made, cheaply built, cheap guitars. And my opinion has not really changed on that. There's still a chunk of wood that you bolt in a neck to, and there you go. And remember the craze in the 80s where everything had to have this through neck? One piece that was all through instead of even glued on? Because it was great for sustain or some BS like that. Maybe it made this much of a difference. Oh, so there was a question that somebody had earlier about amp versus guitar. I think that was the thing that we wanted to talk. And then Ron asked about arpeggio versus pentatonic modes and stuff like that. Okay, so let's. That's not too off, I guess. We might play something a little bit. But somebody was asking about amp versus guitar. So the short answer, I think, is if you want the sound, buy a good amp. Buy a really good amp. And buy a cheap guitar and put good pickups in it. Unless it's a hollow body, most of the sound's coming from this stuff. That's my opinion. I put zero credence in the whole tone wood argument. I don't buy it one iota. Not one iota. But put in really good pickups, buy a cheap guitar, make sure it plays well, buy a good amp, great setup, right? Buy 3 pedals, and you're all set. You can do 98% of rock and roll. Now, do I like different guitars? You see me petting this guitar. My God, it's weird. Do I like different guitars? Yeah, I love them because they give me a different feel. When I pick up a new instrument, I'm like, yeah, I could play this way or that way or the other. And they inspire me in different ways, I will say. When I want a rock sound, I pick up my Les Paul. When I want to rock, right? Not if I want to rock like playing big hair band stuff because then I want to do some dive bombs and BS like that. So then I would pick up my Silver Sparkle guitar, which is kind of like a Suhr copy with a Wilkinson trim. Doesn't have a Floyd Rose because I hate Floyd Roses, but I can dive bomb on that one, and it comes back in, and I can pretend I'm Van Halen, playing "I'm the One" or something, um, which is not exactly new. But there you go. So, all right. So there we go. Let's see. So I'm of the opinion, buy a good amp. Buy a good amp. But I wouldn't buy 10 amps. A lot of people have the same affliction that guitar that of buying guitars. I'll buy amps as well. Um, I'm not into amps, so I have collected a number over time, and I try and keep my amp collection small by selling the old ones. Uh, I really love. I have to say, I really love I, um, I really love the Black Star HT5s, the new ones. The clean channels are voiced really well. I don't miss playing my Fender Twin at all, and my back thanks me. But that's only a $500 amp. It's only 5 watts of output, but it's pretty dang loud. I only play in the house anyway, and it has that at least right now. Hopefully someday soon I'll be playing out again, but um, it has the attenuator, so I can play at half a watt indoors and not bother everybody. It's great. So there we go. So Jono Ang asks, "Is the Harley worth it?" This particular one was, but this is not a cheap guitar. Um, I'm pointing to it as if you can see it. So I reviewed this. I did a review. So Jono, if you want to look at the review, I cover lots of things in this. This has a ton of features. This is a $400 guitar. So it's not it's their highest end model basically, and I was given this guitar, so it's easy for me to like it, right? If I paid $400, I think I would still be pretty happy. It was set up. It sets up well. I think it looks really nice. The look is nice. I think especially the look in the back. The neck, the roasted maple neck, is quite good. The stainless steel frets are great. I think the Roswell pickups are good. The tremolo, it's a Wilkinson, works great. Electronics were fine. They don't feel cheap. The access here and in the back is really great. The recessed neck is great. Locking tuners are great. Tusk nut is great, and it all works well. It has a Fender style. It's a little bit thicker than a Fender style neck, but it has a Fender style neck with a 12-inch radius instead of 9.5. That's how I would describe it. So it's all great. One other thing I really love about this is the truss rod adjustment is right there on a flywheel. Can't tell you how nice that is. I live in the Northeast U.S. where humidity makes the guitars crazy. It's really nice to have it there. Although this one, I haven't adjusted. It's pretty darn solid. It's pretty darn solid. So I love this guitar. I think it's great. Feels great too. Great feel. It's a little bit heavy. It's 7.5 pounds, so they haven't used the lightest wood. Whatever. It's not the best chunk of wood. Big surprise. So, and it didn't take long to get to me. And they sent me the right guitar. They didn't give it to somebody else. So I don't know. I've heard people have problems with the Harley Benton service, folks. Uh, Chris likes Marshalls. Yeah, Chris likes Marshalls. I'm more of the Fender person on the amps. I like that sound more. Yamaha's great too. Greco are available in Japanese replicas. I don't know. Let's see. A 335 is the same price as my Toyota Yaris. I'd rather have a car. Well, when I bought my 335, it was no, it was $650, and my dad gave me a loan, and I paid him off $50 a month by cutting lawns and then later working at McDonald's. That's how I paid it off. All right. And that's what a guitar like that, that's what you should get. You should get it to keep and play for 40 years. And that's what I've done. Okay, would you prefer lots of headroom or an amp that breaks up nicely? Depends, right? So if I'm playing a jazz gig, I want it to be crystal clear. I don't want any breakup whatsoever. If I'm playing a rock gig, I love that classic rock, like the Stones breakup. So yeah. I don't play with an extra cab usually, unless I'm going to plug into a PA or something like that. Then I'll use the PA. But I'm spoiled. Most of my gigging days, in the old days, I played with one of those old L9s. Now that's a solid state amp too. B.B. King used an L9 at the end of his career, and Gibson made them in the 70s. I think they were when they were Norland or something like that. L9 amps, and it has one 15-inch speaker, if you can believe that. So, anyway, that thing was crystal clear. That was unbelievable. So, yeah, I like that. But I like the breakup too. So I don't know. The Blackstar HD5 has a 12-inch. I think it's a Celestion, and although I don't know, might not be. But it breaks up nicely at the higher volumes. It has 2 channels. So it's voiced in 2 different ways. So one of the voicings has more breakup than the other. It's more of a strat. It gives you more of a stratty sound. You'll have more of a metallic sort of breakup, a little more open sound. Than the other is a little more rounded sound. Hey, Dehenjo. How you doing? Good to see you. I don't know how to pronounce that, but good to see you. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it a day in just a second. But I don't know. Should I play some blues to take us out? I don't know. Let's see. What do I got here? Yeah, let's play some blues to take us out. Do you guys want the Telly? The Telly or the PRS? What do you want to take us out on this one? What do you think? Telly or PRS to take us out? Santiago, thank you. Appreciate it. Really do. Really nice to have you stop by. Saw your comment. Yes, blues, says Max. All right. The Telly. Hey, Mar Randy. Okay, it looks like people are saying use the Telly for the blues. Okay. All right. Well, I should have told you what kind of blues we're doing. Let's see. Let's put on just a little breakup. Nah. Let's see what we can do here. Maybe. Yeah, let's see if we can do a little bit of this. Okay. I gotta listen for this one. So anyway, while this is playing, I just want to thank everybody for coming by. We've been going for quite a while, and I appreciate that. I'm so sorry that this was unlisted to start, but so glad that you could find it. And we'll see you again next week. We'll do another one of these. I got some more Christmas music coming up, some more holiday music coming up in the next few days. So enjoy. You can come and check me out on Facebook on The Joy of Guitar if you want to join. Just make sure you answer all those questions. I ask a bunch of questions so I don't have to do the work. All you have to do is answer them and you get in. Okay? All right. Hey, thanks, Ron. Glad you enjoyed it. All right. So let's go. This kind of feels like a little bit of a stormy Monday, yeah? I think it's maybe a little bit different. Here we go. I have to turn it up a little bit. Thanks again for coming. It was so great, the conversation on here. I just loved it today. All right, we'll see you all next week.